Hello, I'm Sheryl McCarthy. Welcome to One to One. He's been called a hopeless romantic, and in his fiction, love, with all of its pleasures, anguish, and complexity, takes center stage. André Aciman is an acclaimed writer and distinguished professor of comparative literature at the CUNY Graduate Center. His previous novel, Call Me by Your Name, about the passionate love affair between a 17-year-old boy and a male graduate student, became the subject of an Oscar-nominated movie by the same name. In his latest book, Room on the Sea, Aciman writes about three facets of love and about how each changes the lives of its characters. Where does his fascination with love come from? And what life lessons does the book impart to all of us? Welcome.
Thank you.
So are you a hopeless romantic?
I don't know. I wish I did know if I was hopeless or not, but I am a romantic. There's no question about it.
In your fiction, you seem fascinated by the different ways that romantic attraction starts and how it evolves. Where did that fascination come from, or when did it start?
I think it started when I was quite young, probably 13, 14, and I think that all I thought about was literature and sex, the two of them. And I think that they coalesced in various ways. They must have, because going from the love of books to the love of other people just came very naturally to me. But I always felt that I was very shy. I was very withdrawn as a human being, very reluctant to engage with other people. And so that gave me a certain kind of posture vis-a-vis everything that everybody else did, but I didn't, or I didn't have the courage to. So that in a way, my writing became a way of working this out. And I think I've been doing that since I was 14, 15, ever since.
Are you constantly looking for love stories? Or trying to figure out, I don't know, the story behind the people, the couples that you see?
Well, I see a lot of couples, and I see a lot of them being very happy. And I say to myself, they couldn't possibly be that happy to be together, but they do a very good show. And so I have become very suspicious of people who say, we get along fabulously. We speak all the time. I say, no, they don't. They don't look as if they do. But at the same time, I envy them because somehow I think that they're perfect and I'm not, and my family is not as perfect as they proclaim theirs to be.
In the three novellas in Room on the Sea, each one explores a different facet of love. Now, one is about two 60-ish married people,
Yes.
Paul and Catherine, who meet while on jury duty and get together in between the breaks, before and in the break and after jury duty. They develop strong feelings for each other, and it awakens something in them. What attracts Paul and Catherine to each other?
I think it is the unexpected, the thing that they had absolutely no cognizance was going to happen. And the fact that they are totally disarmed by circumstances. They thought that this is going to be another dull jury duty day, and if I'm lucky, I'm going to get expelled from the jury room, and that's going to be it, and I can go back to my life. And they have absolutely nothing to forecast, and no ability to foresee that they might like each other, that they might enjoy being together, and suddenly finding that at their age, which they're both past retirement, they could very easily basically begin something that neither of them wants to name.
In this novella, you, through Paul and Catherine, philosophize about certain aspects of life. For instance, you write about rendezvous manqué. Am I pronouncing it right?
Yes, that's right.
What is that?
A rendezvous manqué is basically a rendezvous, which you know what it means, but it's an appointment in time, but it's missed. In other words, you didn't go there on time, or you got stood up, or it never happened the way you thought it would. And so it is manqué. It is basically an occasion that you missed out on. And suddenly, these two individuals are finding that you know, if they continue being monkeys, they may not finish their lives the way they want to.
I think about the James Blunt song. He's an English singer. When the song came out and was being, everywhere you went, this song was playing. And it was about a young man who saw this woman on the train.
Yeah.
And she was with another man, and she was beautiful. And the lyrics go something like, you're beautiful, it's true, but I will never be with you.
Okay.
And it seems to me that you're talking about that this it's just never going to be, or some other missed opportunity, either in love or in something else, you know, in the work world. Are all lives a story? As somebody says this in the book, in the novella. Are all lives a story of missed opportunities, moments that almost happen but never do?
I think a lot of things are like that. Not all events, thank God, because then we would have no purpose in being alive. But occasionally things do work out. Suddenly the sparks catch, the fire is there, and you're lucky if you notice it, and at a certain age you need to grab it because it's not going to wait for you. Otherwise, most times people think, oh, this was a lovely encounter, we had a great time and we'll never meet again. And that happens too.
Now, Catherine in the story is a psychotherapist.
Yes.
And I think she's the one who says, all people have a weeping, hurt little child in them that they never recover from.
Yeah.
You agree?
I think it's true. It is so true, and I think it's particularly true of men. Because,
Really?
well, it's that you don't see it in men. Women usually cry, or basically are more emotional, or are said to be more emotional than men. But most men have a sort of stolid nature to them, and they're hard-nosed, and yet they're little boys weeping. And it's wonderful. One of the best things in life is when you have an intimate moment when somebody catches you and says, you're weeping, aren't you? You have a smile on your face, but you're really weeping. And at that point, you are disarmed because you have nothing else to have recourse to but to say, yes, you're right. And of course, at that point, you're entirely open. And I think men tend not to be that open.
But I also think that, about the weeping child, I think that the nasty remark that somebody made to you when you were 5 years old, the guy who stood you up,
Oh, yeah.
you know, when you were in college, the job that you didn't get. I mean, I think these things haunt you to the grave in sometimes.
Yes.
I mean, I think so.
Yes, they do, and they haunt you. And the same way that I would say, just to fix it a bit, is to say that shame, the things that you've been ashamed of when you were 3, 5, 10, 15, whatever, you're still vulnerable to them today. Past a certain age, we're not going to specify which age, but basically, whatever hurt you back then still hurts you now.
You still feel that shame.
Yeah, you still feel that shame is there to stay.
I know you believe in love at first sight because you told me so
Yes.
years ago
Okay.
when we talked. And that certainly shows up in your writing. I mean, Call Me by Your Name, Elio. Is it Elio or Elio?
Elio.
Elio and Oliver. In Find Me, Elio's father, a much older man,
Yes.
meets a very young woman on a train, and love at first sight there. And also in the story of Paul and Catherine, who we've just been talking to, the story of how Paul's father met Paul's mother. Do you think love at first sight is primarily a reaction to physical beauty or something else?
It might be. It might be a reaction, but actually it's not just the perfection of the features that matters. It's the energy that somebody sort of exudes. And you react to that energy right away. Sometimes you don't at all, and yet the person is supposed to be the most beautiful person in the world. On the other hand, the ugly person who doesn't have the right features and yet exudes this kind of energy that seems to scintillate and to stir you up entirely. And that is the most wonderful thing in the world. So it's not looks that I'm interested in. It's more the combination of energies.
Now, we don't know what Paul and Catherine decided to do ultimately.
Right.
You know, whether they fulfilled their dream of fantasy of flying off to Naples together, or whether they stayed with their spouses. But they did act on impulse in becoming lovers. You obviously believe there is value in acting on impulse.
Yes, I do. And I'm the most unimpulsive person on earth.
Are you?
But at the same time, every time I acted on impulse, every time I lost something was for the best. And I've always been like, you should act more on your impulses. No, I tend not to act on my impulses. But the times that I have acted on them were fabulous.
Okay, okay.
And I think that the reserve that I have, the withdrawal that I project, protects me, and at the same time, it doesn't necessarily block me. It just lets things happen when they should.
In another one of the, another novella, Mariana, you write about obsession. There's this young graduate student woman and an somewhat older man who meet at an artist colony in Italy. And she knows from the minute he walks into the room that she wants to sleep with him.
Yeah.
And they do. Now, I've heard that artist colonies are known for sexual promiscuity.
Apparently, and I've been to many, and yet I have never engaged in anything.
Okay.
I cannot. I don't know why I don't. I go to an artist colony because I want to work.
Right.
I don't want to be distracted. I don't need to be distracted.
Now,
but they do happen. There's a lot of sex.
That's my sense. Now, Itamar, who is the guy that she meets, he's really a scoundrel.
Totally.
He sleeps with everybody. He lies repeatedly. But Marianne she cannot resist him.
Right.
She's helpless to turn him away. What is it that drives her obsession with him in this case? What is?
In this case, I think that I mean, this is the nature of obsession, which I think that obsession is either the best word the best cognate for love, or love is itself just the namesake for obsession. I haven't decided which of the two it is. But I think that she is totally taken by him physically, and because physically he's so compelling for her, that she cannot distinguish between an emotional need and the physical aspect of their relationship. She can't distinguish anything. She's just basically there, surrendering to him whenever he wants it.
You also say that he makes her, a part of her obsession is that he makes her fall in love with herself.
Yes, because you discover things. In the most silly relationships we've ever had, the silliest, the kind that you will forget about the next day, still you learn things about yourself that you didn't know because you didn't care to find out. And you discover things about how vulnerable you are to something that you thought was completely in control. You discover this about yourself, and you discover many other aspects of it in yourself, because you didn't expect to find anything. This was going to last a day, a night, whatever. And yet suddenly you realize, oh, I need something else from this person. And
now, this particular story reminded me of the characters. There was a movie called Sunday, Bloody Sunday.
Oh, yes.
In which a middle-aged woman and a middle-aged man are both having an affair with a much younger man, an artist, and they're obsessed with him.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's sort of blasé about the whole relationship. They spend their waking hours away from him, longing for him. And it's about, I guess, the agony of loving someone who doesn't love you.
Yes, or it's about somebody who's so secure that they don't feel that they depend on you. They may like you, they may even love you, but they don't need you terribly badly. They're not obsessed by you. And I think the example of Sunday Bloody Sunday, which is a film that I've seen several times, was wonderful, actually.
You write about the loneliness that follows love. Always, pretty much?
Yes, because you suddenly realize, wait a second, I didn't like so and so that much. But now that I'm alone by myself, I wish I had that person again. And it's the loneliness, notice it's loneliness that comes after a big disappointment. You weren't really in love. I don't think that she is in love, Marianne is in love with Itamar that much. But she is totally surrendered to him. And now that he's gone, or that she has to leave, she feels that she misses him. She wants to continue the conversation, and he might as well be dead because he's not going to answer.
But I know that she has this feeling, as I think many of us do, that one day the person who left us or rejected us is going to realize what he's missing out, what he
Yes.
missed out on.
Right. Totally. And I think that's a part of it. I mean, this is the ultimate satisfaction that we have after we've been jilted, because we feel that, well, one day they'll know that we were special.
Right.
They don't really think that. And part of it is knowing that you're fooling yourself. And I think my characters are all very intelligent. So they don't need to basically, oh my God, I really loved him. No, you never loved him to begin with, but you were obsessed.
In the third, one of the other novellas, The Gentleman from Peru,
Right.
Raul, an older man with mystical powers, stays at a hotel on the Amalfi Coast where he meets a much younger woman who he believes he met in another time in their lives or in another lifetime. I wasn't quite sure what you were trying to get at in this story.
Well, put it this way, the people, for example, in India, okay, they understand that story and they adore it because it speaks to them. Culturally, they're much more sort of amenable to understanding that metempsychosis, which is the transfer of identities from the person who has died to somebody who is now alive, is normal. We don't believe in it really, but they do. And I wanted a story in which a man like Raul, who is old, meets somebody whom he recognizes and is trying to convince her that he knows who she used to be in the previous lifetime.
So he feels that he met her
Yeah.
at some other time, probably before she was born.
Certainly before she was
Right.
born. Yes.
Right. Okay. You've described yourself as a sad person, as someone who's also rootless and who has never found a place that felt like home to you.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I've been around the world a few times. I've been displaced at least twice. I come from a history of family that has been displaced several times. So there is certainly a sense that we could be French, but we're not French. We could be Italians, but we're really not. We could be this, we could be that. We're not even Jewish enough. So essentially, you belong nowhere. And I think to top it all off, rather than say, okay, I don't have a place, that's okay. I tend to look at the past and try to say, maybe the past might have an answer. Maybe I'm too obsessed with the past. I can't let go of things. And that makes me sometimes sad. But not I'm not paralyzed by sadness. It's just that it is my general outlook tends to be sort of mournfully aware, soulfully aware of things.
Okay. So there was Egypt, there
Yes.
was
Italy, Italy,
right?
there was France also, in my case.
Okay.
But in my father's case, he came from Turkey and he moved to Egypt. he moved to Italy, he moved to France. And in the case of my ancestors, you know, we came from Spain originally.
Okay.
So from Spain to Dalmatia to Turkey to it basically it compounds itself to the point that you can't really belong anywhere. Yeah, you can have a certain citizenship, as I do, but you belong to so many places, and none of them are in the present. They're all sort of in the past at this point.
Okay. Well, you sort of, how did you feel about, my sense you didn't like Rome very much, at least at the beginning.
I hated Rome. But when I got to Rome, I didn't like it at all. But eventually I got to fall in love with it. I fell in love with Rome to the point where it has displaced everywhere else.
Really?
Yes. But I cannot be in Rome for more than a month before I say, okay, I need to get back to New York. Is New York my home? No. But it feels like home. At least it's the most grounded I'll feel.
You've also been quoted as saying that you never read newspapers, and you're blessed not to be reading them now, I can say, that you're not interested in the present, only in what is timeless.
Yes. I tend to be more engaged in the things that either never happened or might still happen. I'm not interested in the present. It's not true that I don't read newspapers. My wife reads 3 newspapers at least on a daily basis. I don't read more than the headlines, and I'm aware of what goes on. But at a dinner table, I have very little to say about what is happening in the world today. I would much rather discuss, you know, what so-and-so really meant but couldn't say when he wrote such and such a book.
Okay, okay. You say that you are always reflecting on the possibilities of love, that you look for love everywhere. Is this a kind of, really, a daily kind of thing with you?
No, but you're aware of it. You put it this way, the people who say they're not aware of the need for love are lying, or at least they're not as aware of what they're feeling. In my view is that you're constantly searching for love. You may have love, but you want more, and you want more, and you want enough of it to complement everything in your life. And nothing ever does. You know that, but it doesn't mean that you don't want it.
You are a professor of comparative literature, so you have read a lot of fiction. Who are some of your favorite writers on the subject of love?
I think nobody understands love. The best writers do not understand love. And I would think of, I'll start with Emily Bronte, for example. Wuthering Heights. It's a book that, you know, people have read. And in fact, I started a book with it. Emily Bronte says something like, "You are more me than I am myself."
Well, here we're talking about obsession, sounds like.
It is totally obsessed. And that I use that line in Call Me By Your Name, because it is the form of identity switching that suggests obsession and almost something traumatic going on. But I do think that the people that I teach and that I love have all experienced the failures of love, not the successes of love. Successful loves, I mean, look at your basic songs. How many of the songs you know are happy songs?
It's all about heartbreak.
It is
and longing.
Exactly.
And why, you know, I can't make you love me if you don't. Yeah.
Okay. And I think it boils down to that. And all the novels, the great novels, are all about the failure of being in love or of not finding love. And I think that that's a dynamic that I understand very well. So anybody who writes about successful loves, I have no interest in.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you are always looking for love, because I think you really understand it, explain it well, reflect what a lot of us have experienced. And I thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm afraid we're out of time. Again, I'd like to thank André Aciman, author of Room on the Sea and distinguished professor of literature at the CUNY Graduate School, for joining me today. To learn about our upcoming shows, you can follow us on Instagram at 1-to-1 CUNY TV. And you can watch the show on the go by downloading the CUNY TV app. For 1-to-1 and CUNY TV, I'm Sheryl McCarthy.